The crystal champagne flute shattered in my grip, sending shards of glass and expensive bubbles across the marble floor of our dining room. Every head at the table turned toward me, but I barely noticed the gasps and whispers. My mother's words still hung in the air like poison. "We're thrilled to announce Riley's engagement to Riker Williamson." "My name is Riley, and I just found out I'm getting married to a man I've never met. Darling, are you all right?" My mother Lisa's voice carried that familiar edge of steel beneath its sweetness. Her perfectly styled blonde hair and Chanel suit screamed old money, though we both knew that was just another carefully crafted lie. "I'm fine," I managed, forcing a smile as our housekeeper rushed to clean up the mess. The glass just slipped. Across the table, my sister Cynthia shot me a sympathetic look. She knew better than anyone how our mother operated, having gone through her own arranged marriage 3 years ago. Now divorced, she still played along with mother's social climbing schemes. "When do I get to meet my future husband?" I asked, my voice dripping with fake enthusiasm. The dozen society guests at our table leaned in, hungry for drama. Mother's laugh tinkled like wind chimes. "He'll be joining us for dessert, actually. Such a successful man, so busy with his enterprises." She turned to her captive audience. "Riker just acquired another tech company last month." I reached for my phone under the table, firing off a quick text to Max. "Emergency. Mother's gone nuclear. Call me in 10. "Riley, phone away," Mother hissed through her smile. "Mrs. Harrison was just asking about your charity work." I launched into my well-rehearsed speech about the youth mentorship program I supposedly ran, all while my mind raced. My actual work, the tech startup I'd built from nothing over the past 3 years, remained my closest guarded secret. Mother would never understand that I'd rather code until dawn than attend her precious charity galas. The doorbell chimed, and my heart stopped. Heavy footsteps approached the dining room. "Ah, here he is." Mother practically glowed as a tall man in an expensive suit entered. His salt and pepper hair and confident stride screamed power, but his eyes were cold as they assessed me. "Riley," he said, his voice deep and controlled, "I've heard so much about you." I stood, extending my hand. Wish I could say the same. Mother's warning glare could have frozen hell. Right on cue, my phone rang. I checked the display with exaggerated concern. "So sorry, but I have to take this. It's about tomorrow's event." I hurried from the room before anyone could object. "Max, you're a lifesaver," I whispered, once I reached the garden. "That bad?" My business partner's familiar voice helped steady my nerves. "Worse. She's arranged my marriage to some tech mogul, probably hoping to secure funding for her pet projects." "Jesus, what about the investor meeting tomorrow?" I glanced back at the warm lights of the dining room, where my mother was undoubtedly spinning tales about her perfect daughter. "I'll be there. 5 years of building this company in secret. I'm not letting her ruin everything now." "Riley," Mother's voice carried through the French doors, "don't be rude to our guests." "Got to go," I told Max. "Make sure everything's ready for tomorrow. This might be our only shot." Back inside, Riker had taken the seat next to mine. His cologne was expensive, but couldn't mask the predatory vibe rolling off him in waves. "Sorry about that," I said, retaking my seat. "Charity emergency." "No problem at all." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Your mother tells me you're very involved in the community." "Oh yes," I replied, matching his fake smile. "I just love helping people." The dessert arrived, Mother's famous crème brûlée. But I could barely swallow past the rage building in my throat. As the guests praised her hosting skills and cooed over the wonderful news, I made my decision. Tomorrow's investor meeting wasn't just about securing funding anymore. It was about finally breaking free. "A toast," Mother announced, raising her glass. "To Riley and Riker." Everyone lifted their glasses. I raised mine too, but my mind was already racing ahead to tomorrow. Let them all play their parts tonight. The perfect mother, the eligible bachelor, the obedient daughter. Soon they'd learn that some facades were built to be shattered. Like that champagne glass, their carefully constructed world was about to break into a million glittering pieces. and I would be the one holding the hammer. You'll learn to love him, Mother said, adjusting my blazer the next morning. Riker is exactly what this family needs. I stepped away from her fussing hands. I have meetings all day. Charity work, remember? Cancel them. Riker wants to take you to lunch. Can't. I grabbed my laptop bag. Major donors waiting. Mother's perfectly painted lips pressed into a thin line. Riley, you need to take this seriously. Do you know how hard I worked to arrange this match? Did you even Google him? I shot back. His last 2 wives. Had everything they could ever want, she interrupted. Just like you will. I escaped to my car before she could say more, my hands shaking as I started the engine. The truth was, I had Googled Riker extensively last night. 3 failed marriages, multiple harassment allegations quietly settled out of court, and a reputation for hostile takeovers of smaller tech companies. Exactly the kind of man my mother would choose. My phone buzzed with a text from Max. Conference room ready. Lionel confirmed for 10 a.m. I pulled into the underground parking garage of an unremarkable office building downtown, the secret headquarters of my startup, hidden in plain sight. Max met me at the elevator, his usual relaxed demeanor replaced with nervous energy. You look like hell, he said. Try having dinner with your future husband who's old enough to be your father. About that, Max handed me a coffee. I did some digging. Riker's been sniffing around companies like ours. He buys them cheap and strips them for parts. Of course he has. I took a long sip. Mother probably told him all about my charity work over drinks at the country club. We reached our floor, where Adeline was waiting with a stack of presentations. Ready to blow some minds? She asked, falling into step beside us. Born ready. I squared my shoulders. Where's Lionel? Already here. Early bird gets the worm, I guess. The conference room doors opened to reveal Lionel Gill, one of the most respected tech investors in the country, studying our product demo on the wall screen. He turned as we entered, his expression unreadable. Miss Young, he said, extending his hand, your pitch deck caught my attention. Show me what you've got. For the next hour, I walked him through everything. The secure messaging platform we'd built, our growing user base, the encryption technology that put us years ahead of competitors. With each slide, his questions got sharper, more interested. Impressive, he said finally, especially for someone who spends so much time running charity events. I froze. You've been talking to my mother. She called this morning. Seemed very interested in directing my attention toward your fiancé's ventures instead. His eyes twinkled. Funny thing is, I've dealt with Riker before, not a fan of his methods. Mr. Gill, I started, but he held up a hand. Call me Lionel, and relax. I'm more interested in backing someone who built something real than another corporate raider. He turned to Max. Walk me through the technical architecture again. As Max launched into an explanation, my phone buzzed. Riker. Where are you? Your mother said we had lunch plans. I typed back, emergency at work, rain check. His response was immediate. Dinner tonight, non-negotiable. I don't like being stood up. Everything okay? Adeline whispered, noticing my expression. Just my future husband demanding attention. I shoved the phone away. Nothing I can't handle. 2 hours later, Lionel stood to leave. I'll have my team draw up the paperwork. 10 million, 20% stake, board observer rights. I struggled to keep my voice steady. You're in. I'm in. He smiled. Looking forward to seeing how your mother reacts to having a daughter who's about to become a tech CEO. After he left, Max, Adeline, and I stood in stunned silence. We did it, Adeline whispered. Holy shit, we actually did it. Not yet, I said, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from Mother, 2 from Riker. Now comes the hard part. You have to tell them, Max said quietly. Oh, I'll tell them. I gathered my things, a plan forming. But first, I need to understand exactly what game Riker's playing. See you at dinner tonight? Wouldn't miss it. Max's expression turned serious. Just be careful, okay? Men like Riker don't like surprises. I thought about the contracts hidden in my desk, the code that represented years of secret work, the future I'd built while my mother planned my life away. Don't worry, I said, heading for the door. Surprises are about to become Riker's least favorite thing about me. The restaurant Riker chose screamed old money, all dark wood and crystal chandeliers. I arrived 15 minutes late, just to see how he'd react. His jaw was tight, fingers drumming against the white tablecloth. Traffic, I said, sliding into my seat. You wouldn't believe downtown at this hour. I would, actually. I own 3 buildings in the business district. He signaled the waiter without looking at me. Wine? Just water. I needed a clear head for this conversation. Your mother mentioned you don't drink much. His tone suggested this was a character flaw. Tells me you're very focused on your charity work. I smiled. Mother loves talking about my work, doesn't she? She does. He leaned forward. Though I find it interesting that when I looked into your youth mentorship program, I couldn't find any official records. My phone buzzed, a text from Cynthia. Mum's on the warpath. Where are you? Would you excuse me? I stood, heading for the ladies' room before he could object. I called my sister back immediately. What's wrong? She's been calling everyone, Cynthia said, her voice tight. Something about Lionel Gill cancelling a meeting with Riker. She's convinced you must have said something to scare him off. Me? I barely know the man. The lie tasted bitter. Riley. Cynthia hesitated. What aren't you telling me? I have to go. My fiancé's waiting. I hung up before she could press further. When I returned to the table, Riker was on his phone, speaking in low, angry tones. Don't care how you do it. Just get me that meeting back. Gill's investment could make or break this deal. He hung up when he saw me. Everything all right? Perfect. I opened the menu. So, tell me about this deal you're working on. His eyes narrowed slightly. Nothing that would interest you. Business can be complicated. Try me. Let's talk about the wedding instead. He reached across the table, taking my hand. His grip was just tight enough to be uncomfortable. Your mother suggests spring. Cherry blossoms, white doves, very tasteful. I pulled my hand away. Sounds expensive. Money's no object. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Though I was thinking we could announce our engagement at the tech conference next month. Good publicity. For your company? For us? He studied me. You know, you're not at all what your mother described. No? I took a sip of water. What did she describe? A devoted daughter, charitable, eager to settle down. His tone hardened. Instead, I'm getting the feeling you're hiding something. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Max. Emergency, code base compromised, someone trying to access our servers. My blood ran cold. I looked up at Riker, who was watching me with calculated interest. Need to take another call? He asked innocently. Actually, yes. I stood, gathering my things. Rain check on dinner? He caught my wrist as I tried to pass. Riley, whatever game you're playing, remember, I always win. I yanked free. We'll see about that. The drive to the office was a blur. Max and Adeline were already there, hunched over computers. Someone's good, Max said without looking up. Professional-grade attack. They're trying to access our investor presentations. Riker, I said, has to be. How would he even know about us? Adeline asked. Mother. I sank into a chair. She must have told him about Lionel. He's trying to find out why the meeting was cancelled. My phone rang. Mother again. This time I answered. Where are you? She demanded. Riker just called. Said you walked out on dinner. Did he tell you he's trying to hack my company? Silence. Then, what company? The one I built while you were busy planning my life. My voice shook. The one Lionel's investing in instead of Riker's latest hostile takeover. Riley. Her voice turned to ice. Come home right now. We need to talk. No, Mother. For once, you're going to listen. I watched Max successfully block another attack attempt. I'm not your puppet anymore. And if Riker comes after my company again, I'll bury him with proof of every illegal tactic he's ever used. I hung up before she could respond. Adeline touched my shoulder. You okay? No. I pulled up a chair to my computer. But I will be. Max, strengthen the firewalls. Adeline, call our lawyers. If they want a war, we'll give them one. My phone lit up with a text from Cynthia. Just heard everything from Mum. We need to talk. I had no idea you were capable of this. I typed back, you have no idea what I'm capable of, but you're about to find out, because this wasn't just about protecting my company anymore. This was about breaking free from every cage they'd ever built around me. And I was just getting started. I met Cynthia at our childhood treehouse, the one place Mother would never think to look. She was already waiting, perched on the wooden platform like we used to do as kids. So, she said as I climbed up, a tech startup. 3 years of work, I settled beside her. You never wondered why I missed all those charity galas? I thought you were just better at saying no to Mother than I was. She pulled her knees to her chest. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have kept it from her? Her silence was answer enough. Remember when I got that computer for Christmas? I asked. While you were getting etiquette lessons, I was teaching myself to code. Mother always said you were wasting your potential. Cynthia laughed bitterly. Turns out you were building an empire right under her nose. My phone buzzed. Lionel. Papers ready. Meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Bringing additional investors. What are you going to do? Cynthia asked. Sign the papers, take the investment, build something that's actually mine. And Riker? Let him try to stop me. As if summoned by his name, my phone lit up with his number. I declined the call. He's dangerous, Riley. Cynthia's voice dropped. I looked him up, his last wife. The rumors weren't pretty. I know, I stood. That's why I'm not going to be his wife. Back at the office, I found Max and Adeline in a heated discussion with our lawyers. He's threatening a lawsuit, Max said as I walked in. Claims we stole proprietary technology from one of his companies. It's bullshit, Adeline added, but he's got deep pockets for legal fees. Let me handle this. I pulled out my phone, dialing Riker's number. He answered on the first ring. Finally ready to be reasonable? Meet me, 1 hour, the bar at the Four Seasons. Now that's more like it. The Four Seasons bar was quiet for a Thursday night. Riker was waiting in a corner booth, looking smugly confident. Drink? He offered as I sat down. Cut the act, I said. I know what you're doing. Do you? He sipped his whiskey. Your mother painted you as such a simple girl. Imagine my surprise when I discovered you'd built a company worth stealing. You can't have it. I already have 3 pending patents that could block your technology. 1 phone call, and your investors run screaming. His smile turned predatory. Unless I play along with this engagement charade. Smart girl. He reached for my hand. I pulled back. Here's what's actually going to happen, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm going to play you a recording from dinner last night, the part where you admitted to corporate espionage. Then I'm going to show you the documentation I have on your last 3 hostile takeovers, including the offshore accounts. His face darkened. You're bluffing. I pressed play. His own voice filled the space between us. Don't care how you do it, just get me that meeting back. That's just the beginning, I said, stopping the recording. Want to see what else I have? You little. Careful. I smiled. Wouldn't want to add assault to your list of problems. My phone buzzed. Lionel again. Heard about Riker's threats. Don't worry, my lawyers are better than his. I showed Riker the message. Choice is yours. Back off now, or I release everything. He leaned forward, voice low and dangerous. You have no idea what you're doing. Actually, I do. For the first time in my life, I know exactly what I'm doing. I stood to leave, but his words stopped me. Your mother will never forgive you. That's the point. I turned back. She needs to learn she can't control everything. Outside, Cynthia was waiting in her car as planned. Did it work? She asked as I got in. We'll see. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Mother. Take me to the office. I need to prep for tomorrow's signing. I'm proud of you, Cynthia said quietly. Terrified for you, but proud. Want to come to the signing tomorrow? See what your little sister's been up to. She smiled. Wouldn't miss it. As we drove, I typed out a message to Mother. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Lionel Gill's office. Come see what your daughter's really capable of. Bring Riker if you want. He's about to learn what happens when you underestimate the wrong woman. You're really going to do this, Cynthia said, reading over my shoulder at a red light. Watch me. Because tomorrow wasn't just about signing papers or securing investment. It was about showing them all, Mother, Riker, everyone who'd ever underestimated me, exactly who I'd become while they weren't paying attention. Lionel's office occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown tower. I arrived early with Max and Adeline, my hand steady despite the sleepless night. Cynthia joined us in the lobby, looking nervous but determined. Mother's on her way, she said, checking her phone. She's bringing the family lawyer. Of course she is. I straightened my blazer. Ready? The elevator ride was silent. When the doors opened, we found Lionel waiting with his team of lawyers. And there, already seated in the conference room, was Mother, with both Riker and her lawyer flanking her like guards. Quite the audience, Lionel murmured as we approached. Sure you want to do this? More than anything. Mother stood as we entered, her face a mask of controlled fury. Riley, stop this nonsense right now. Good morning to you too, Mother. I took my seat across from her. I see you got my message. This is ridiculous, Riker cut in. You have no idea what you're doing. Actually, Lionel said, spreading out a stack of documents. She knows exactly what she's doing. Shall we begin? Mother's lawyer leaned forward. My client has concerns about her daughter entering into any business agreements without proper family consultation. I'm 28, I said. I don't need consultation. You need guidance, Mother snapped. Look at you, throwing away a perfect marriage for some internet project. Perfect marriage? I laughed. You mean a business transaction? That's all this is to him. I turned to Riker. Tell them why you really wanted this marriage. Tell them about trying to hack our servers. That's absurd, he scoffed, but his eyes darted to Lionel. Is it? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording from the bar. The color drained from Riker's face as his own words filled the room. You recorded me, he growled. I record everything these days. I met his gaze. Including your team's attempts to breach our security. Want to hear those logs too? Mother's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we should... No, Mother interrupted. Riley, you're making a terrible mistake. Everything I've done has been for your future. My future. I stood, anger finally breaking through. You mean your future, your status, your social climbing dreams. I gave you everything. You gave me a cage, the words exploded out. A beautiful golden cage where I had to pretend to be someone else just to make you happy. Silence fell. Cynthia reached for my hand under the table. Mrs. Young, Lionel said quietly, your daughter has built something remarkable. Instead of fighting her, you might try being proud. Proud? Mother's laugh was bitter. Of what? A daughter who lies, who sneaks around. Of a daughter who created a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. Max interjected, who worked 18-hour days while attending your charity events, who never asked for help because she knew you wouldn't understand. The papers are ready, Lionel said, sliding them forward. 10 million initial investment. Your daughter's company valued at 50 million pre-money. Mother's eyes widened at the numbers. Riker's jaw clenched. You sign those papers, he said, and our engagement is off. Promise? I picked up the pen. Riley, Mother tried one last time. Please. I looked at her, really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup and designer suit, I saw something I'd never noticed before. Fear. Fear of losing control, of her carefully constructed world crumbling. I'm not doing this to hurt you, I said softly. I'm doing this because I need to be me. Not the daughter you wanted, but the person I actually am. Then I signed. Riker stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. You'll regret this. No, I said. I won't. He stormed out, Mother's lawyer hurrying after him. Mother remained seated, staring at the signed papers like they were a death sentence. What will people say? She whispered. They'll say your daughter is a successful CEO, Cynthia answered. Isn't that better than being someone's trophy wife? Mother stood slowly, smoothing her skirt. I need time to process this. Take all the time you need, I said. I'll be here, running my company. She left without another word. As soon as the door closed, Adeline let out a whoop. We did it. She hugged me tight. We actually did it. Congratulations, Lionel said, gathering the papers. Though I suspect this is just the beginning of your battles. Bring them on, I replied, watching Mother's retreating figure through the glass walls. I'm done hiding. Cynthia squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think you just became Mother's worst nightmare. A daughter who doesn't need her anymore. No, I said, turning to face my team, my real family. I became something better. I became myself. The news broke faster than I expected. By evening, my phone was flooded with messages from Mother's social circle, ranging from shocked to scandalized. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the press release Adeline was drafting. Tech's newest power player, she read aloud. Rising startup secures major investment from industry legend Lionel Gill. Perfect, I said, then jumped as my office door burst open. Have you seen this? Max rushed in, holding up his tablet. On the screen was a business news article. Tech mogul Riker claims intellectual property theft by ex-fiancé's company. That didn't take long, I muttered. My phone rang. Lionel. I assume you've seen the headlines? Looking at them now. Good. Meet me at my lawyer's office in an hour. And Riley, bring everything you have on him. I was gathering my files when Cynthia called. Turn on Channel 7, now. I flicked on the office TV just in time to see Riker stepping up to a podium, looking appropriately grave. It pains me to take legal action, he was saying, but corporate theft cannot go unchallenged, no matter how personal the relationship. He's trying to tank our stock before it even goes public, Max said. No, I replied, watching Riker's performance. He's trying to scare me. At the law firm, Lionel was waiting with 3 attorneys and a familiar face. Riker's second ex-wife, Sarah. Tell them what you told me, Lionel said to her. Sarah's voice was quiet but firm. He does this every time, finds promising companies, tries to marry his way in, then destroys them when he can't take control. We need to go public, I said. Not just with the recording, but everything. It's risky, one of the lawyers warned. He could sue for defamation. Let him. I pulled out my laptop. I've got proof of every illegal tactic he's used in the last 5 years, including what he did to Sarah's company. My phone buzzed. Mother. I declined the call, but her text came through. Fix this. Now. Before you destroy everything. Everything's already destroyed, I typed back. You chose the wrong side. The next few hours were a blur of legal strategy and document reviews. By the time I left, we had a plan, and a press conference scheduled for tomorrow morning. I drove home exhausted, only to find Mother waiting in my apartment. How did you get in? I still have your spare key. She held up a glass of wine. We need to talk. Nothing to talk about. Riker called, she said, following me to the kitchen. He's willing to drop everything if you'll reconsider the engagement. I slammed my laptop down harder than necessary. Are you serious? Think about what you're doing. The scandal, the legal fees. The truth, I cut in. I'm telling the truth. Something this family hasn't done in years. We did what we had to do. No, you did what you wanted to do. Pushed me into a corner. Tried to sell me to the highest bidder. I tried to secure your future by engaging me to a man who destroys women's companies for fun. I pulled up Sarah's file on my laptop. Did you even check his background? Or did his bank account blind you? Mother's hand shook as she set down her wine. You have no idea what it takes to maintain our position in society. You're right, I don't, because I was too busy building something real. My phone lit up with a text from Max. News at 11. They're running the story about Riker's past takeovers. Mother saw the message. You can't do this. Watch me. I opened my door pointedly. Tomorrow at 9, I'm holding a press conference. Be on the right side of it or stay out of my way. Riley. Goodbye, Mother. After she left, I called Cynthia. You okay? She asked. Getting there. You still coming tomorrow? Front row. She paused. Mother just called me crying. Let her cry. Maybe she'll finally realize what she's done. And Riker? I looked at my laptop, at the evidence we'd gathered. He's about to learn what happens when you underestimate the wrong woman. Another text came through, from Sarah. Thank you for doing what I couldn't. Make him pay. I typed back, count on it. Because tomorrow wasn't just about saving my company anymore. It was about every woman Riker had ever tried to destroy, every dream Mother had ever dismissed, every truth we'd been forced to hide. Tomorrow, we'd finally break the silence and let the pieces fall where they may. The hotel conference room was packed, journalists filled every seat, cameras flashing as I approached the podium. Lionel sat to my right, Sarah to my left. In the front row, Cynthia gave me a subtle thumbs up. Max and Adeline stood at the back, laptops ready. Mother slipped in just as I began speaking. She looked smaller somehow, less certain. Thank you all for coming, I said into the microphone. Yesterday, allegations were made about my company and its technology. Today, I'm here to tell you a different story. Camera shutters clicked rapidly as I continued. This isn't just about intellectual property. This is about a pattern of corporate predation that has destroyed countless companies and lives. The door slammed open. Riker strode in, his lawyer trying to keep up. I wouldn't do this if I were you, he called out. Fortunately, I replied into the mic. You're not me. I nodded to Max, who started the presentation. On the giant screen behind me, documents began to appear. Financial records, email chains, court settlements. Over the past 5 years, I continued, Riker has targeted multiple tech companies founded by women. His method? Personal relationships leading to business takeovers. This is slander, Riker's lawyer shouted. Actually, Lionel stood, everything she's saying is documented and admissible in court. I clicked to the next slide. 3 marriages, 12 attempted takeovers, 8 companies destroyed. But today, that pattern ends. Sarah stepped up to the microphone. Her voice shook slightly but grew stronger with each word. 2 years ago, I lost my company to this man. Today, I'm here to tell my story. As Sarah spoke, I watched Mother's face. The color drained as she realized exactly what kind of man she'd tried to tie me to. Ms. Young, a reporter called out, did your mother know about Mr. Riker's history when she arranged your engagement? Before I could answer, Mother stood. No, she said clearly. I didn't, and I should have. The room fell silent. Even Riker looked surprised. My daughter, Mother continued, moving toward the podium, built something extraordinary. While I was pushing her toward what I thought was success, she was achieving it on her own terms. Lisa, Riker warned, think carefully about what you're saying. I'm done thinking carefully, she replied. I'm done being careful at all. She turned to me. I'm sorry, Riley. I was wrong. My hands gripped the podium tight. This wasn't part of the plan. Would you care to make a statement, Mrs. Young? A reporter asked. Mother straightened her shoulders, a gesture I knew so well. Yes, my daughter's company is legitimate, innovative, and entirely her own creation, and I'm finally proud to say that. Riker's face turned dark. You'll regret this, all of you. No, I said, pulling out my phone. You will. I played the recording from the bar, his threats echoing through the speakers. Then I clicked to the final slides. Proof of his hacking attempts, the offshore accounts, everything. We have copies of all of this, Lionel announced, including evidence of corporate espionage against multiple companies. The SEC has been notified. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions as Riker's lawyer tried desperately to drag him out. Cameras followed their retreat. Additionally, I raised my voice above the chaos. I'm announcing a new initiative. Our company will be launching a fund to support women in tech who face similar predatory tactics. Sarah will be heading the program. More cameras flashed. More questions flew. Through it all, Mother stayed by my side. When the press conference finally ended, she turned to me. I really didn't know. I believe you. And surprisingly, I did. But you never asked either. No, she admitted. I was too busy trying to make you fit my world to see you'd built your own. Cynthia joined us, hugging me tight. That was amazing, though Mother stealing the show was unexpected. Speaking of shows, Max called from his laptop. You're trending. Stock prices are up. And Riker's board just called an emergency meeting. My phone buzzed. Lionel. Well played. Sarah's already received 3 calls from other women wanting to tell their stories. What happens now? Mother asked quietly. I looked around at my real support system, Max and Adeline high-fiving by the laptops, Cynthia beaming proudly, Sarah talking to reporters, Lionel directing his legal team. Now, I said, we build something new, together if you want. Mother's eyes welled up. I'd like that. Outside, reporters were still gathered, cameras ready. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of being seen. No more hiding, no more pretending. This was who I was always meant to be, and I was just getting started. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee from the rooftop garden of our new office building. I watched the sunrise paint the city gold while Max set up his laptop at our outdoor conference table. Ready for this? He asked. Born ready. The door opened, and Mother emerged with fresh pastries. The board members should be here any minute. It still felt surreal seeing her like this, sleeves rolled up, reading glasses perched on her nose, actually working instead of just orchestrating social events. After the press conference, she'd thrown herself into learning everything about the tech industry, determined to understand my world. Riker's sentencing is today, Cynthia said, joining us with her own laptop. She'd joined the company as our legal compliance officer, putting her years of following rules to good use. Good, I replied. Sarah's waiting at the courthouse with the other witnesses. The door opened again. Lionel arrived with our board members, including 3 women who'd survived similar experiences with corporate predators. Mother had helped us find them through her social connections. Turns out her networking skills were actually valuable when used for good. Impressive view, Lionel said, taking his seat. Almost as impressive as these quarterly numbers. I pulled up our presentation. Wait until you see what's next. Before we start, Mother interrupted, I have something to say. She stood, smoothing her blazer, a nervous habit I'd inherited. When Riley first revealed her company, I thought she was throwing away everything I'd built for her. I was wrong. She wasn't destroying our legacy. She was creating a better one. Mom, I started, but she held up her hand. Let me finish. Yesterday I received this. She pulled out a magazine. On the cover was a photo of me, headline reading, Rising Tech Star Reshapes Industry Culture. The old me would have cared about the society pages, she continued, but now I'm proud to say my daughter made the business section instead. Adeline burst through the door, tablet in hand. It's in! The verdict's in! Everyone grabbed their phones. The news alert flashed across screens. Tech mogul sentenced to 8 years for corporate fraud. Sarah says he looked shocked, Adeline read from her messages. Apparently, he really thought he'd get away with it again. He never understood, I said, that real power isn't about controlling people. It's about empowering them. Mother touched my arm. I understand that now. The board meeting proceeded with unanimous approval for our expansion plans. The Women's Tech Fund had already helped launch 3 new startups, with more in the pipeline. As the members filed out, Lionel lingered. You've built something remarkable here. Not just the technology, but the culture, the community. We built it, I corrected, looking at my team, my family. Max and Adeline arguing over code architecture, Cynthia organizing legal documents, Mother charming investors with her perfectly practiced smile, but this time for a cause she actually believed in. My phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. "Justice served. Thank you for helping me find my voice again." "Speaking of voices," Mother said, checking her watch, "we have that interview in an hour. The one about women supporting women in tech. You're coming?" "Of course." She straightened my collar. "Someone needs to tell the world how proud they are of their daughter." "Getting soft in your old age," I teased. "Getting wise." She smiled. "Finally." The elevator dinged, and Max called out, "Hey, boss, they're ready for us downstairs. Time to change the world again." I looked around one last time, at the garden we'd planted together, the city stretching out below, the future spreading endless before us. "You know," I said to no one in particular, "when I started this company, I thought success meant proving everyone wrong." "And now?" Cynthia asked. "Now I know it means proving ourselves right." Mother linked her arm through mine as we headed for the elevator, ready to show them what a young woman can really do. "Actually," I grinned, "I think they're finally ready to see what we can all do together." Because that's what real victory looked like, not destroying the old world, but building a better one. Not breaking free alone, but bringing others with you. Not just getting revenge, but creating change. The elevator doors opened to our lobby, where reporters waited with cameras ready. But this time, I wasn't facing them as someone's daughter, or fiancée, or victim. I was facing them as myself, and that was the greatest success of all.